And
the most violent event on their college campus history.
Been arrested that day. Thousands of people, alumni,
by the
faculty, students,
cops and ICE, I guess.
Saying that they are furious with what has happened. We reached out repeatedly to various departments. On the other side, you have police and riot gear coming in. Students.
Yes, in the middle of the cover, we see in big bold letters, students speak, admin silences.
Yeah, and then underneath that, we have the words, welcome to UTD, because we're going to be giving this out at freshman orientations. Underneath the fold, we had a scatter of blood splots. People were injured that day. People were also raising hands covered in blood that we had photos of. And it just says, for more information, contact President Benson, the president of UTD at the time. And then we put his email and contact information that are provided by the school.
You designed this cover in this special issue with the express intent of handing it out at orientation?
Yep.
You had to have known that this was going to provoke the administration. I mean, it's kind of a big fat
Sounds
FU
like
to
fuck
them.
the administration.
We fully expected that they would be upset with it. We spoke to the Student Press Law Center in advance. We spoke to members of the
Be
Society
upset
of
about
Professional Journalists to make sure everything
Nazis.
is legally checked. We've done everything we ought to be doing as journalists.
How did the school ultimately respond to it?
They demoted our advisor 2 days after the issue was published, and he told me that my head was next on the chopping block based off of the conversation he was at, because the school was very upset with how they were portrayed.
A day later,
Don't let
Gregorio and
Nazi
some of the
cops
other editors
shoot
from
your
Mercury
students.
Were called into a meeting with Jenny Huffenberger, the senior of marketing for the Student Affairs Department at UT Dallas.
So,
Oh, Dallas.
The latest issue obviously has gotten the attention of administration.
Oh, it got their attention because they made a pamphlet, not because the cops shot their students.
I need you guys to understand that the approach on this issue was incredibly flawed. What I see here is wall-to-wall activism. And that
Good.
really
Sounds
is
like it's
journalistic
working.
malpractice. There's opinion that
No,
is
it's not
just
journalistic
saturating
malpractice.
this content.
We asked her what was journalistic malpractice.
It's just not. She's a fascist.
Journalism malpractice.
Because she's a
is
fascist?
come way too far. There's nothing like that.
Mike Heestand from the student, one of the organizations that reviewed the special issue before it went out.
I think the students were frustrated, and I think they were simply voicing their frustration and that of their classmates.
I mean, it made it to where they're making a news story about it, so sounds like it worked.
Jenny Huffenberger did not respond.
Oh, journalism is sometimes acknowledging people's complaints, legitimate complaints about
for the Mercury, a woman named Lydia Lund.
the university defending cops shooting the students.
Resume because she worked in journalism for over 20 years. But by the end of the summer, Gregorio was back in the hot seat.
She tells us that unless we start doing prior review, unless we start giving her access to all of our material and letting her into every single one of our meetings,
Sounds like some Hegseth
we wouldn't be
bullshit.
allowed to travel to conferences anymore because
Sounds like some fascist
she wouldn't
Hegseth
be able to make
bullshit.
a proper business decision
Demanding
about
that
And
all
in that
the
meeting, I told Lydia that so long as I was editor-in-chief,
reporters just
we would not be
toe
doing
the
prior
Pentagon
review
line.
or any other form of censorship.
Gregorio was
you.
absolutely right to say that this is not something that we are going to tolerate.
Mike Heestand from the Student Press Law Center.
At least within public colleges in America, not only is it unusual, it's illegal. I mean, we've got clear case law in the
But have
books
they
that
arrested the lady for
school
suggesting
officials
it?
do not have
For
the right
attempted to
insist
break that
on
law?
reading
Well, they did.
that
They
proven
insisted,
copy
so
before it's printed. That's the job of
she
the
broke the
editors.
law.
We did agree
What are
with
the
her
consequences
that we
for
would
breaking the
do
law?
More meetings with her. So after
Oh, they went to
pitch
more
meeting
meetings with
staff,
her. Why wasn't
we
she
would
arrested
talk to
for
her
breaking the
about
law?
Every single pitch and
They're
what our
arresting
general
people for,
thoughts for it were. So that she was
civil
updated on
infractions
what
of
the
crossing a
actual
border.
articles were.
Well, not just
She said
they're
that was
kidnapping
okay,
people for that shit.
But given that we were all fired a few weeks later, I guess it wasn't okay.
Okay, so this is how it went down. First, Gregorio was informed that the school planned to remove him as editor-in-chief. When we requested an interview from UT Dallas, the university sent us a statement saying, quote, "For clarification, the former editor was not removed for editorial content, but because he violated student media bylaws." In a memo written by Lydia Lund that she said justified your removal, She accused you of holding multiple student jobs. In addition to running the newspaper,
Wrong with having more
you
than
were
one
a
job.
PA, a peer advisor in university housing, which is a role that provided monthly pay and free student housing. Is it true that you had two on-campus
Two
jobs?
I had two roles, but we had also double-checked with Jenny if that was permissible, because the specific prohibition is you can't have two employee positions at UTD, just because they don't want to pay you like healthcare or compensation in any way.
If they're already paying you healthcare, why wouldn't they get another job out of you?
However,
they don't want to pay you any
Mercury
healthcare. Got it.
Editor-in-Chief, Housing
Typical.
Peer Advisor, neither of them are classified as official employee positions, and they're instead classified as stipend positions.
Lydia Lum declined our interview request. Shortly after his hearing, Gregorio was fired. And so the Mercury staff voted to strike in protest.
And they had an opinion piece, which was
Mercury
just,
staff.
this is the stance of the Mercury's entire team, and we're not going to write for the Mercury unless we are spoken to by the school, unless an effort is made to engage with us.
Did the administration respond to the strike?
They suspended all of the Mercury email accounts on day one of the strike. We come to the conclusion that, like, if they're not going to engage with us in good faith, we'll just make our own newspaper.
In late September 2024, the former Mercury team launched a nonprofit newspaper and website called The Retrograde. Get it? Mercury Retrograde?
Mercury
They raised around
Retrograde, pretty slick.
$7,000 to get their printing and business operations off the ground. An average issue costs a bit more than $1,000 all
Witches
in.
know what they're
And
talking
the
about.
UT Dallas student government passed a measure recognizing the Retrograde as the official paper on campus. Gregorio and some of his team attended the Texas Intercollegiate
So they
Press
just took the
Association
paper from the
convention.
school. That's pretty
He
smart.
says he and other student
We need to take
journalists
the
in
White House
state
back from
are
terrorist
working in
Trump.
a flaming cauldron of chaos.
He just
It was just
committed
kind of
a
like
terrorist act
talking to
upon the
people
White
in the
House.
trenches of World War I. I spoke to people from the University of Houston student newspaper. They had just had their student government fully dissolved. We spoke to students from smaller universities across the state, community colleges, who have their own newspapers. And those students talk about how their advisor gets actively intimidated by the university, saying like, hey, we're a small school. If we have to make budget cuts, you might be up next if your coverage is negative of us. They don't cover ICE raids that happen on their campuses out of fear that they won't have a
So
newspaper.
it worked. The Nazis
We're
won
in a cauldron because
that
we're
battle.
being boiled alive.
Why then, given the obstacles that have been placed in your way, do you continue to beyond worth all the trouble?
I think it's worth all the trouble because someone has
Save
to do
democracy. Save
Because
America. You're American
once you
heroes.
stop doing
Thanks.
journalism,
Free press.
people can just act with impunity. That, in my opinion, is the biggest dispute I have with the UTD administration. They want to act with impunity. And if people are seeing headlines where it's like, UTD mass arrests, 21, if there are photos of the reality of that day out on the internet, it doesn't make the school look good. And if it were up to them, we wouldn't be here.
Gregorio Oliveras is a junior at the University of Texas at Dallas. He's still working at the Retrograde and is still very much involved in speaking about the rights of student journalists. That's it for this week's show. On the Media is produced by Molly Rosen, Rebecca Clark-Callender, and Candace Wong.
Our technical director is Jennifer Munson, with engineering from Jared Paul and Sam Baer. Eloise Blondio is our senior producer, and our executive producer is Katya Rogers. On the Media is produced by WNYC. I'm Brooke Gladstone.
And I'm Michael Oninger. This is CPR News, 90.1 FM KCFR Denver, 1490 AM KCFC Boulder, on HD at 90.1 FM at CPR.org, and on your smart speaker. Safe place, CPR News.
How does the world change as people choose to have smaller families? That story on the next morning edition.
Choose
of
to or can't
NPR
afford
News.
kids anymore.
Weekday mornings until 9 on CPR and KRCC.
Support comes from the Children's Hospital Colorado Foundation. Stock, real estate, and retirement assets are a way to healthcare for kids. Learn more at givechildrensco.org/giving.
Check out these leaves. I don't want any issues with their music. But yeah, we need to arrest all the executives and seize all the companies that are funding Trump's terrorist attack on the White House.
Far-right people to be accepted in the political sphere.
Nope.
After the Oslo Accords,
Never accept the far right.
was it hermetically sealed off many Palestinians from meeting Israelis just in the course of day-to-day life. It's hard to really communicate the extent of just the everyday growing violence that the occupation demands. You have a wholesale internalization of the idea that this kind of violence is not normal, it's actually justifiable and is righteous.
That's fascism for you.
You're listening
That's Zionism, not Zionism.
To understand the present. Coming up this hour,
The rise of Israel's right wing.
but first, here's what's happening in our world today.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Schiavone. Trade negotiators from the U.S. and China say they have reached a tentative agreement that would head off some of the most onerous tariffs and export restrictions
Trump's
threatened by
threats.
both countries. The progress was reported as leaders gathered for the annual summit of the Association of Southeast
Somebody's got to
Asian
stop
Nations
Trump
in
while we still have a
Malaysia.
White House and
NPR's
country
Emily
left.
Fang reports this sets up a highly anticipated meeting between President Trump and China's leader Xi Jinping.
Issues like rare earths and China's refusal to buy American soybeans were top of the agenda. Chinese trade negotiator Li Chenggang told reporters in Malaysia where the talks were held that the two
China's
countries
kind of
had
got you where they want you.
substantive exchange.
Boycotting the soybeans.
And also that the U.S. presented its views
Trump's
forcefully
destroying
that
our
China
farms,
protected
destroying our
its
country,
interests.
destroying our
Meanwhile,
White House,
U.S. Treasury Secretary
destroying
Scott Bessent
democracy.
told Sunday
That's
morning talk
beautiful.
shows that an extra 100% tariff that President Trump had threatened was, quote, effectively off the table now.
We need to seize all the companies that funded Trump's terrorist attack on the White House. We need to arrest all the executives
Israel
that
has approved
supported
teams from
Trump's
the Red
terrorist
Cross
attack on the
and
White
Egypt
House.
to enter Gaza
Oh,
to
two
search for the
organizations.
bodies of hostages. NPR's Rob Schmitz
To search for the bodies, bring some damn food. Those bodies don't need you.
And dismantling explosive devices entered the strip accompanied by several engineering vehicles to help locate the bodies of deceased Israeli hostages.
That's beautiful.
Their bodies are believed to be in areas that have been booby-trapped. For days, there have been discussions over allowing teams into Gaza to help recover the remaining 13 deceased Israeli hostages, as well as deceased Palestinians under the rubble.
You got to overthrow Trump, Putin, and Netanyahu.
Trump wants to return the bodies of hostages, or the countries involved in the peace plan will take action. Among the bodies of hostages remaining in Gaza are 2 Americans. Rob Schmitz, NPR News, Tel Aviv.
The partisan redistricting effort
Why don't you report on ending the famine there, the
Commonwealth of Virginia.
genocide?
Lawmakers there will be
Because you're
holding
not
a
ending
special
it?
session tomorrow. NPR's Mara Lyons.
But thank you for stopping the genocide as much as it's been stopped. Thank you for saving Gaza. Keep saving it. Thank you for saving America from Trump and Putin and Netanyahu. Thanks saving it. Keep saving it.
After President Trump called on red states with trifectas, that is, with Republican governors and state legislatures in the same state, to create more seats favorable to his party. 3 other blue states,
Nazis?
California, Illinois, and Maryland, have responded in kind and are looking at ways to increase seats. Normally, redistricting happens every 10 years after the census is taken. That custom appears to be yet another political norm cast aside during the Trump era.
Oh, casting aside political norms. Why don't you call it what it is? He's destroying America and democracy for Putin. All Trump Putiners are destroying America. They're all traitors. They're all pedophiles. They're all Nazis.
Of more than 130 miles an hour, about 100 miles away.
We need to arrest all the executives funding Trump's terrorist attack on the White House. We need to seize all their companies.
And for the hurricane to make landfall in Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic later on in the week.
Seize all the companies.
Americans are expected to spend a record $13 billion on Halloween this year. Lauren Patterson,
Halloween.
Northwest Public Broadcasting, has details.
A survey by the National Retail Federation finds 73% of the participants plan to celebrate Halloween. That's up
Yay.
from about half in 2005.
Yay!
The past 20 years has been a
We're
dramatic
winning.
increase.
The war against Halloween is
People who are
losing.
celebrating Halloween.
Dramatic
That's Jay
increase.
Zavorsky, an
That sounds like
economics professor
50%
at Boston
more.
University who researches holidays. The data also show people are spending billions.
I feel
on
bad for
costumes
anybody who
this
doesn't
year.
get to celebrate
And more
Halloween.
people are
You got an
dressing up
evil
for
religion
pets.
if it won't let you
Zavorsky
celebrate
says that's
Halloween.
due to social media.
One or two influencers start dressing up their pets, and then.
And by the
everyone's
way,
like, "Oh,
Church of
I
Judas
need to
replaces
dress up
all
my pet
patriarchy,
too."
Christianity,
People
war, and
predicted to spend
Trumpism.
nearly $1 billion on pet costumes.
Jesus
this
set
year.
Judas
For
aside,
NPR News,
specifically
I'm
outside of all these
California,
churches, so he's not
Washington.
guilty of all the evil things
French
they've done, so he
media
can come back
report
now
that
and
2 people were
replace all their
arrested overnight
churches.
in connection with the theft of millions of dollars worth of historic
I wonder if they got any of their
gems
gems
from
back.
the Louvre in Paris. Paris prosecutor says one person was taken into custody as he was preparing to fly out of the country. I'm Louise Scavone, NPR News.
So we need to arrest the executives who are funding Trump's terrorist attack on the White House. We need to seize those companies. That means Google. We need to seize Google, including Net and YouTube, this app that we're on, and arrest all the executives for supporting Trump's terrorist attack on the White House, finishing Osama bin Laden's plan from 25 years ago. Osama bin Laden was going to try to hit the White House, and Trump has done his work for him by destroying half the White House so far. We got to stop him before he destroys the other half. We got to stop Trump while we still have some White House left. And we got to arrest all those executives, the executives of Google, the executives of every company that donated to Trump's terrorist attack on the White House, and we need to seize those companies. Now they're going to talk about the rise of Zionist extremists.
How and why Israeli politics have shifted to the right. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a plan to end fighting in Gaza just over 2 years after the Hamas-led attack on Israel on October 7th.
And the ensuing genocide by Israel.
Subsequent bombardment and invasion of Gaza.
Bombardment, invasion, genocide.
Next, we are bringing you episodes looking at the history of major players on both sides of the conflict.
Bombardment and invasion is kind of downplaying it, Rom Team Arab
If
Louie.
you missed that, go back and check it out for sure.
Beautiful tree.
This week, we're revisiting our episode on the rise of
Hey
right-wing
Carissa,
politics.
just getting some of these.